Welcome back, crew. It's August, and we're diving into Evil Hat Productions' flagship game, Blades in the Dark. So, throughout this month, we're going to be going over all of the mechanics, lore, and pieces of the system. So, at the end of the month, you feel confident running a Blades in the Dark game of your own. And kind of going along with that, today we're going to be doing one of my favorite pieces of learning any new RPG. We're going to make our own PC. And since Blades in the Dark has a little bit of a unique system with it, we're not only going to be making our own new PC, we're going to be making our own crew too. Just so you guys can see a little bit of how that works, some of the cool mechanics alongside of it, and just how everything kind of works to serve the fiction as which was kind of one of the Blades in the Dark's kind of overlying principles. So we're going to be diving into that. Stay tuned. Before we go all the way in, one thing I want to shout out is as with every game of the month we do, at the end of the month, we're going to be playing a live play game of Blades in the Dark. And we're going to be hosting that this month, Wednesday, August 31st at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on my Twitch channel, Tegan J Gaming, link in the description. Drop a follow if you haven't yet. We do a lot of, this is where all of our games of the month are hosted at. And you get to see me and my crew experience this amazing system. We're going to be playing a one-shot going through. And as with all these games of the month, as we play, I'll be kind of calling out different pieces of the mechanics or how the system works and portions where it kind of shines through, just so you can kind of see how the system functions and get a good idea of how it would play at your table, hopefully. And one of the things we do, if that doesn't sound amazing already, get to see me and my crew play this system, get to have some scoundrelly Blades in the Dark goodness. With our games, I want to encourage, one of the whys behind my channel is I want to get more people playing new systems. So each month when we do these games of the month, during our actual play, we raffle off a copy of the game. So we'll be raffling off a PDF of the Blades in the Dark system to one lucky viewer. So you can take this system, bring it home to you and your crew, and get to bring on some heist and scores back to your table and get to experience the system firsthand. So join us, enter in the raffle once game day hits, and maybe you'll be one of the lucky ones to get to bring it back to your crew. But for today, what we're doing is we're going to go through and how to build a PC. And for those who've watched other videos on this channel or the other PC builds, this is probably my biggest piece of advice to any new DM or any new player looking to learn a system. It's to go through and build your actual PC. And even if you're not going to, like I'm GMing this game, I'm not going to play at all. But for learning the system, going through, building the PC, kind of figuring out what the mechanics of the system are, the different checks and different things that may come up, and just kind of what the system values, there's no easier way to do that than going through and just building a PC. Not only will it give you be more prepared to kind of run and answer some of the questions that may come up with the system, it helps you for helping your own players as they go through things you may have questions with, they probably will have questions with too. So that way you can kind of know where some of the pitfalls are, some of the areas where confusion kind of resides in the system. And no, I have not played one system yet where there hasn't been one spot where you're like, that's confusing. So building this will help you be prepared for those questions and make sure you're ready to answer those questions. So one piece of advice I have for this channel, build a PC, best way to learn the system, take it or leave it. But yeah, let's get into build our PC. So we are going to be building kind of a starting PC, and we're going to go through their steps so you can kind of see each portion of how it's built out. And then we're going to go into building a crew. More on that later. I like that system. Sneak preview there. And we're going to kind of go through that and some cool tips and tricks, I think, for having fun of building your crew. So let's get into the PC build first. And we're going to go through this kind of just step by step. So with this, shout outs to Evil Hat Productions. They made it easy with this too. They've got a good PDF, and a PDF with good bookmarks. Not Lancer, not the Lancers love. Lancer's got that gold standard. Just everything's like super labeled and easy to find on the bookmarks. This one's very good, better than a lot of other TTRPGs I've played. So shout outs to Evil Hat. You guys did a fantastic job with it. But yeah, we're going to go through and hit that character creation session, and we're going to go through each step and hopefully have a good PC built out at the end of it. And with our games, for all of them that are on Roll20, we're going to use Roll20 as our character sheet. My game that I'm hosting for my crew on the 31st is going to be played over Roll20. And I know a lot of people now, after the pandemic and all the craziness and the pandemic we're still in, actually, I should say, it's probably easier to play online, or in some cases better too. So most of my games are online nowadays, so I always like to show that off just in case you do have questions about how it's set up. And the nice thing though is even if you do play in person or use kind of a standard character sheet, everything's still similar on that site, so you can still follow along with the process and see how kind of the core pieces of building out this system. But one of the biggest pieces is picking your playbook. And playbooks are unique. So I know it says they call it playbook, and I said playbook. So playbooks aren't classes. And they kind of go into that in the paragraphs below. They're set up kind of a good way to get certain skills. So they're very similar to a class with they preload you with some skills and abilities, but they're not locking you into a certain style of play. They are giving a nice thing with the system. It does give you a lot of different options and different ways you can approach different tasks, and your playbook will give you some additional ones to that. But if you wanted to build an academic cutter, you could. If you wanted to build a brawny whisperer, you could do that too. Don't think of it as handcuffs. Think of it more as kind of a suggestion, if that makes any sense. But with my crew, or with my PC build, I wanted to pick one that one of my players was not already gunning towards. So I picked the Whisperer. None of the players have called that out as one they've been interested in so far. And I love a bit of magic. So the Whisperer, they're basically, as they phrase it, they're good at magical stuff. That's right in the book. So they're good at magical stuff, dealing with ghosts. Play a Whisperer if you want to be able to meddle with the arcane arts. And who doesn't want to meddle with some arcane power? So we're going Whisper, and that's going to be kind of our base playbook for our PC. Oh, and our PC's name is Kavin. So he's going to be kind of our guy that we're building out, and we're going to flesh him out as we go through. One of the big pieces with Blades in the Dark is it's always kind of fiction narrative first. And a lot of the options they give kind of allow you to build that fiction. And we're going to build the fiction of Kavin as we go through. Right now, he's a whisperer. He's kind of good at manipulating the arcane. He definitely has kind of a good-sized ego along with that and consorts with Ghost. But let's see what more we can find out about him as we go through. So, we did step one. We got our playbook. One down. 7 more to go. So now we have to choose a heritage. So with this system, choosing a heritage isn't like, don't think of it like a lot of other RPGs. Let's pick on Pathfinder, for instance, when you choose your ancestry. A lot of times there's a lot of like benefits and specific things that go along with it. As I said, this game is more narrative first. They do recommend placing some of one of your attribute points to where both your background as well as your heritage come from, or kind of what the way they'd be good at. But it's a recommendation. It's not even a hard you must do that. With this, it's just more opportunities for you to kind of build out your image of your PC and bring some cool backstory or just even character narratives for them. So with Kavin, I thought he's a whisperer. He's mastered the arcane arts. And they're in the big Duskwall city. I thought he'd be cool if he was a native on this side. He's somebody that's been around for a bit. We'll get a little bit more into that side. But so far, he's going to be from Akros. Probably butchered it. But that is where Duskwall is located at. So that's kind of the most industrialized land in the Imperium. He's definitely kind of got that city slicker feel to him. And I thought that would go well with it. So with our heritage, Akros. Step 2 is already done. So let's see what step 3 is. Now we're going to choose a background. So this is going to be kind of more of kind of along what your character does outside of scores, or maybe does before they got into getting into scores, or the more seedy, scoundrelly elements of Duskwall. So these are the different backgrounds they have listed. These are just kind of one of the general ones. But you could you can definitely customize them out, and they give some examples on that side. So with our guy, he's somebody that studied the arcane arts. I thought a little bit of a scholarly approach, so I picked academic. He is a professor at the Duskwall Academy. He specializes in the arcane, especially in communicating and kind of consorting with spirits from beyond. And he's a little bit adept at kind of creating some inventions to aid him in his endeavors on that side. So, professor, academic, we've got step 3 done. Now, next is kind of assigning where our 4 action dots go with this, with our kind of our guy here. So, Kavin. So, With this, we're going to go to the Scoundrel, or not the Scoundrel, the Whisperer crew book here, because one of the things they do is they start you off with 3 points. Now, those four that we got aren't included there, so you get 7 points total, but you do have a starting background for your PC with your playbook. So with our guy, we got study +1, attune +2, which makes sense because his study skills, he's an academic, and he has to study the arcane arts, but he also studies other things as well. And the attune for kind of mastering the arcane, both fit, both are kind of great choices. So I'm glad they put those in, because those are definitely where I would have put my points on going with the fiction too. So now we've got 4 extra points to spend. So I'm going to give 1 point to study. So that'll give me 2 points in study, 2 points in attune. I would have loved to give it another one to attune, but you can't do attune until points into attune until after you're done with your PC creation. So this would be a kind of level, or when you gain experience, you can buy new things within the game. Just a little heads up there. So we put 1 to study. I wanted him to be kind of adept at a little bit of engineering or tinkering with different things and being able to build or take apart mechanical aspects, or even just kind of whip up something that may help out with his arcane studies. So I gave him 1 point in tinkerer. Would have loved to give him a little bit more, but we're always on a budget. So the other 2, I wanted this guy to be charming. He's not your usual book nerd on this side, for lack of a better way to put it. He's a scoundrel. So he's got a little bit of that scoundrel swag. He's able to charm people. This is kind of so we build the backstory as we go out. So I put 1 point in sway, 1 point in consort. So he's from Duskwall. He's from Akros. He grew up within the city. Parents were poor, but he was always a little smart. But one of the things he was always good at is talking to people. And he kind of conned his way initially into the academy by just sweet talking the right people, pushing on those who couldn't be sweet talked. And he got himself into the academy to study. And he just kind of, he liked it. He stayed. And kind of went in, got tenure, and he lives day by day, or lives his day life as an academic, but that gets boring. And so that's how we got into the more scoundrelly side of Duskwall. So, we've got those portions done. We've knocked out step 4 already. So let's go back to our steps. We're going to hit step 5 now. So we got to choose a special ability from our class. So the Whisper's got some cool ones. I struggled a little bit on which one I wanted to go with here. I thought Ritual would be cool because he seems like the type that would love to study different rituals that others have come across to kind of gain some arcane insight and might. So I took that with him. He would be able to do these rituals without it, but without it, it kind of leaves them utterly vulnerable to the powers they try to manipulate. And Kavin's not that type of guy. He doesn't like being vulnerable. He wants to be able to learn things and basically use those to feed his vice, which we'll get into a bit later. So we picked the ritual one, and hopefully we can have some fun with that and get to see some different rituals as well throughout there. And we'll go to, let's go to page 222 and see what some cool rituals are. So basically it kind of goes over how to find a ritual, learning a ritual, performing a ritual. It just gives you some cool backgrounds on that. It gives you some sample rituals too. So for our guy, we didn't want to kind of come up with our own for this one just yet. So I decided just to use one of the sample ones they have, Ghost Map. Kavin often consorts with Ghost. He found that they're a good way to learn where some new scores are coming up, as well as be able to find some good information or some good pieces of study to enhance his own knowledge too. So that's what we're going to do for his ritual, Ghost Map. Now, let's get back to character creation. So we've chosen our special ability. We've hit step 5. Now we're going to choose a close friend and a rival. And these are always going to be from your Playbook's guidelines. So they give you some examples of who could be your friend, who could be your rival. So our guy, he likes to hang out with Ghost. So we're going to give him Nyrix. So a possessor ghost. And basically Nyrix and him, Nyrix kind of trades information, lets him know kind of where some good targets are, and Kavin keeps him company and gives him kind of a friendly face to see that he doesn't need to possess to hang out with. So they kind of trade back and forth on that side, kind of scratch each other's backs. Now for the one who's going to be his rival, this one is going to be a fun one. Kavin is all about learning and pleasure. That's going to be his vice, spoiler alert of that side. He likes to have fun. He likes to drink and just and give his his experience of much of earthly pleasures as he can. Without going into too much detail there. Somehow during those events, he pissed off a demon named Satara. He tried to control Satara for a little bit. He thought, hey, demons are powerful. I can control him. This guy can hook us up with new ways to hit scores and have enough coin for any pleasure we like. But Kavin lost control of him, and now Satara is definitely one of his mortal enemies, and one that Kavin fears to come across. So we've hit step 5. We've got our rival. We've got our friend. Now we're going to choose our vice, and we've already talked on Kavin's vice there. He is definitely all about the pleasure. They give you some of the sample vices there. So he's food, drink, drugs. All are all fair game for him on that side. So pleasure is definitely what gets him going. And now for our look. So he's a professor at the Duskwall Academy, so he tries to look pretty put together. He's got some nice robes. He doesn't look the part of a scoundrel. He tries to not blend in, but look as respectable as he can. I'm kind of giving him a little bit of a Lando Calrissian look. So he's definitely well maintained, well groomed. It's definitely stylistic. Clothes and his appearance are definitely part of his pleasure vice on that side, and got to make sure he gives off that right feel to anybody that comes up against him. So we've hit. So now we're gonna go over our name, alias, and all that. We've got our name, alias, and look. We'll go over our loadout. I'm going to keep him light. So, because you're faster, you're less conspicuous, you blend in with the citizens, which fits how I want Kavin to go. Now, before we go into Roll20 and put this all together, one thing I do want to say is each of the classes you get some starting items you can choose for your load. Passive whisper items. You get the fine lightning hook. I didn't think that fit for Kavin. He's not really interested in trapping ghost, but he does have the fine spirit mass because he wants to see that spiritual energy in greater detail. He's got that ghost key because he does want to be able to use that in conjunction with his ghost map to get in some places he may not be able to otherwise. And then the demon bane charm. He's got that with him at all times because Tara may be lurking around any corner and he does not want to be caught unawares. So we've went through and built out, named out the core pieces of what we want for our PC. So I'm going to switch over to Roll20 and we're going to take a look at how that goes in. So with these, I used to always type them in so you can see how everything went, but I know that adds some time. So I have pre-filled this one in there just so you can see how everything plays out. We are going to show you how to add and subtract things with this, but luckily the system makes it super easy. So with our guy, we've got 3 light load. I didn't click that. So we got a blade or two with him. We've got a nice, an elegantly curved long blade that he wears at his hip. Definitely a more... it almost looks ceremonial. He's definitely not one that gets into some scrapes too often. He does have a point of prowess, which we'll get into a little bit later. But he wears that. Definitely has almost a little status symbol and something that if things get real, he can protect himself. But he also has tinkering tools too, because he's an academic. He's good at taking things apart, putting them together. And the nice thing too with load is while we put his load in there, you can choose your load each adventure. These are things you have. And you can go through you don't have to pay for them. These are just things you have. And just make sure you keep your load in mind as you're building. I always want to keep him inconspicuous. So depending on what we're doing, maybe if I needed some documents, it gives you the Night Watch's movements, the noble lines and all that. I would take those instead, or some arcane implements. But for this time I wanted him to have some tinkering tools to be ready there. But you see, everything else is in there. We've got our friend, we've got our enemy, we've got our ritual selected, we've got all of our abilities we've put in there that we've talked about, and we've got room for notes on this side. They also give you just some of the different ways to advance your playbook. And one thing I will put in there, so if you do come across a new one, let's see if I delete it, if it will go back. So it won't go back, but if you put in, basically if you came into a new one like this, you type in what your class is, and it basically pre-fills with all the different pieces of it too. So makes it easy on that side. So we've gone through, we've built out the Whisperer portion of our build, but I wanted to do a little bit when it comes to crews too. And for the sake of time, we won't go too far in depth on it, but I like this system and I want to shout this out. So the crews, it's just a really cool way to have your party get on the same page when it comes to starting a new adventure. Because a lot of times people may come in having different expectations of what the adventure will entail. But with this, you can go through and have your crew decide what types of adventures they want to take, and kind of have everybody get on the same page with it. So with the crews, you have a number of different options. We're going to build a smuggler because that's what my players that's what they chose to do. And with this too, one of my biggest pieces of advice, and unfortunately we weren't able to do this in person we weren't able to do this live, I should say, for the one shot. But if you are doing a campaign or have the time, do a session 0, have everybody in together live, kind of talking this through. I think this would be kind of a great spot for not only building people's PCs, but just really making sure the group gels and hits the table running. We're doing ours over Discord, kind of just with through chat, but definitely I like this feature, and this is one of the ones with the review. I'll probably take some things out of this and just some things as a takeaway, because I think this is an invaluable tool for getting everybody on the same page. So with the smugglers, you've got your steps in the crew creation. We're not going to go through this too much in depth, but these are just kind of a cool one. And actually, I may do another video with this. We're getting low on time on that side. So we'll do another video going all the way into what building a crew gets you. But I wanted to show the reason we have the prowess marked. Is when you get a starting upgrade with your crew, you get one of the skills that they possess. So the smugglers have training in prowess, and you could pick a prowess skill to take. So I took finesse for my guy. And I think that would kind of fit well with his background there and some of his tools and just kind of how he operates. But that was just a quick look at how to build a PC using the Blades in the Dark system. You see, it's a very mechanically, not complex on the mechanic side. A lot of it is just going through and thinking about your fiction. So with Kavin, we made an academic who is a professor at Duskwall during the day, scoundrel at night, a part of his smuggler's crew, and his smuggling crew too. They kind of go after different arcane and spiritual objects, and that's what he likes to hunt. And he takes those in and smuggles them around the city and selling them for enough coin to indulge his life of drink, drugs, and consorting with the upper echelons of Duskwall City. So that it's just kind of a cool thing as you're going through. That's one of my biggest pieces of advice is here, because you go through and probably like in 10, 15 minutes, build a PC. If you just put down stats, put down the pieces, but take that moment as you're building your PC to really kind of think about the narrative, think about the fiction, think about what you want your PC to be able to do, and kind of translate those into the mechanics. Because that's kind of for this system, and for any system, it's really good. But for this system, I think it's almost essential. So take that as one of my other pieces of a takeaway advice on this side. So use it as you may. But overall, we've built our PC. Stay tuned for a crew build, and I may include that with our factions video with this one, because I think that's important too. And then throughout the rest of the month, we're going to be doing more videos. The crew and factions video. We're going to be doing one on some of the core mechanics of the system for Blades in the Dark. We'll also be doing a little bit more to just on some of the lore in the background behind Duskwall and the city. Because the Blades in the Dark is definitely one you could transport it into a different setting, but I think the setting enhances it, at least in my opinion. So utilize the setting they've built in. We'll go over how to do that too. So stay tuned for these videos, each one on the weekend. The last one will be on a Wednesday right before we play, so keep a lookout for that. But thank you guys for hanging out with me today and going through a PC build. If you haven't subscribed to me already, please drop a like, subscribe. I truly appreciate the support. And then definitely don't miss out on our live play game, August 31st at 7 p.m. We're going to be going through Blades in the Dark and be raffling off a copy of the system. So come through and maybe you'll be a lucky winner. But it's been fun. Hopefully we get to see Kavin and play it. I may make him an NPC, but otherwise it would be just a cool way to learn the system. And I appreciate you guys sticking it out with me. And until next time.